live broadcast, and today I've been pondering about this topic called inspiration. The Holy Spirit is the spirit of joy. We're in the season of Christmas. The Holy Spirit's curriculum is the curriculum of joy. And a lot of times when people contact me, they're sharing their emotions, their problems, their difficulties, their struggles, their challenges. And that all kind of amounts to not being in touch with your life's calling. If you're not happy, you don't know your life's calling. If you're not experiencing consistent joy and happiness, then there's something that's on the altar of your mind. It's something that's taking the space in your heart that isn't wholly joyous, and the ego isn't wholly joyous. So we're here to transcend the ego. So I was praying a bit today on what I could share with you, and what came to mind was the lessons of the Holy Spirit from chapter 6. So let's go through those. What a great reminder. Sometimes when they say lessons of the Holy Spirit, how many lessons are there from the Holy Spirit? And basically, it's being presented here as there's only 3 lessons. So you have to open your heart, be willing to practice, be willing to go for it, and learn the lessons. And then the joy is there, has always been there, always will be there. So here we go. From chapter 6 of the text, the lessons of the Holy Spirit. Like any good teacher, the Holy Spirit knows more than you know now, but he teaches only to make you equal with him. You had already taught yourself wrongly, having believed what was not true. You did not believe in your own perfection. Would God teach you that you had made a split mind when he knows your mind only as whole? What God does know is that his communication channels are not open to him, so that he cannot impart his joy and know that his children are wholly joyous. Giving is his joy, and giving his joy is an ongoing process, not in time, but in eternity. God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked when the sonship does not communicate with him as one. So he thought, my children sleep and must be awakened. That's a good one. God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked when the sonship does not communicate with him as one. So if you believe in the ego, you're blocking the extension of God's love. That's not our purpose. That's not our function. How can you wake children in a more kindly way than by a gentle voice that will not frighten them, but will merely remind them that the night is over and the light has come? You do not inform them that the nightmares that frighten them so badly are not real, because children believe in magic. You merely reassure them that they are safe now. Then you train them to recognize the difference between sleeping and waking, so they will understand they need not be afraid of dreams. And so when bad dreams come, they will themselves call on the light to dispel them. A wise teacher teaches through approach, not avoidance. He does not emphasize what you must avoid to escape from harm, but what you need to learn to have joy. Consider the fear and confusion a child would experience if he were told, do not do this because it will hurt you and make you unsafe. But if you do that instead, you will escape from harm and be safe, and then you will not be afraid. It is surely better to use only 3 words. Do only that. This simple statement is perfectly clear, easily understood, and very easily remembered. The Holy Spirit never itemizes errors because he does not frighten children, and those who lack wisdom are children. Yet he always answers their call, and his dependability makes them more certain. Children do confuse fantasy and reality, and they are frightened because they do not recognize the difference. The Holy Spirit makes no distinction among dreams. He merely shines them away. His light is always the call to awaken whatever you have been dreaming. Nothing lasting lies in dreams, and the Holy Spirit, shining with the light from God Himself, speaks only for what lasts forever. Okay, nothing lasting lies in dreams. Spirit is the only forever. Eternity is spirit. Reality is spirit, and everything else is a block to the remembrance of that reality. Not in truth, but in dreams. So we're here not to try to decide which dreams are better than other dreams, but we're here to forgive the dreams of separation and accept the truth of love. So we have 3 lessons. Our first lesson is to give all to all. When your body and your ego and your dreams are gone, you will know that you will last forever. Perhaps you think this is accomplished through death, but nothing is accomplished through death because death is nothing. Everything is accomplished through life, and life is of the mind and in the mind. The body neither lives nor dies because it cannot contain who you are, life. If we share the same mind, you can overcome death because I did. Death is an attempt to resolve conflict by not deciding at all. Like any other impossible solution the ego attempts, it will not work. God did not make the body because it is destructible and therefore not of the kingdom. The body is the symbol of what you think you are. It is clearly a separation device and therefore it does not exist. The Holy Spirit as always takes what you have made and translates it into a learning device. Again, as always, He reinterprets what the ego uses as an argument for separation into a demonstration against it. If the mind can heal the body, but the body cannot heal the mind, then the mind must be stronger than the body. Every miracle demonstrates this. I have said that the Holy Spirit is the motivation for miracles. He always tells you that only the mind is real because only the mind can be shared. The body is separate and therefore cannot be part of you. To be of one mind is meaningful, but to be one body is meaningless. By the laws of mind, then, the body is meaningless. To the Holy Spirit, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. This is familiar enough to you by now, but has not yet become believable. Therefore, you do not understand it and cannot use it. We have too much to accomplish on behalf of the kingdom to let this crucial concept slip away. It is a real foundation stone of the thought system I teach and want you to teach. You cannot perform miracles without believing it because it is a belief in perfect equality. Only one equal gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation. Nothing more and nothing less. Without a range, order of difficulty is meaningless, and therefore there must be no range in what you offer to your brother. The Holy Spirit who leads to God translates communication into being, just as He ultimately translates perception into knowledge. You do not lose what you communicate. The ego uses the body for attack, for pleasure, and for pride. The insanity of this perception makes it a fearful one indeed. The Holy Spirit sees the body only as a means of communication, and because communicating is sharing, it becomes communion. Perhaps you think that fear as well as love can be communicated, and therefore can be shared. Yet this is not so real as it may appear. Those who communicate fear are promoting attack, and attack always breaks communication, making it impossible. Egos do join together in temporary allegiance, but always for what each one can get separately. The Holy Spirit communicates only with what each can give to all. He never takes anything back because he wants you to keep it. Therefore, his teaching begins with the lesson to give all to all. This is a very preliminary step and the only one you must take for yourself. It is not even necessary that you complete the step yourself, but it is necessary that you turn in that direction. Having chosen to go that way, you place yourself in charge of the journey where you and only you must remain. This step may appear to exacerbate conflict rather than resolve it, because it is a beginning step in reversing your perception and turning it right side up. This conflicts with the upside down perception you have not yet abandoned, or the change in direction would not have been necessary. Some remain at this step for a very long time, experiencing very acute conflict. At this point, they may try to accept the conflict rather than take the next step towards its resolution. Having taken the first step, however, they will be helped. Once they have chosen what they cannot complete alone, they are no longer alone. The next lesson is to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. All who believe in separation have a basic fear of retaliation and abandonment. They believe in attack and rejection, so that is what they perceive and teach and learn. These insane ideas are clearly the result of dissociation and projection. What you teach you are, but it is quite apparent that you can teach wrongly and can therefore teach yourself wrong. Many thought I was attacking them even though it was apparent I was not. An insane learner learns strange lessons. What you must recognize is that when you do not share a thought system, you are weakening it. Those who believe in it therefore perceive this as an attack on them. This is because everyone identifies himself with his thought system, and every thought system centers on what you believe you are. If the center of the thought system is true, only truth extends from it. But if a lie is at its center, only deception proceeds from it. All good teachers realize that only fundamental change will last, but they do not begin at that level. Strengthening motivation for change is their first and foremost goal. It is also their last and final one. Increasing motivation for change in the learner is all that a teacher need do to guarantee change. Change in motivation is a change in mind, and this will inevitably produce fundamental change because the mind is fundamental. The first step in the reversal or undoing process is the undoing of the getting concept. According to the Holy Spirit's first lesson was to give all to all. I said that this is apt to increase conflict temporarily, and we can clarify this still further now. At this point, the equality of having and being is not yet perceived. Until it is, having appears to be the opposite of giving. Therefore, the first lesson seems to contain a contradiction since it is being learned by a conflicted mind. This means conflicting motivation, and so the lesson cannot be learned consistently as yet. Further, the mind of the learner projects its own conflict and thus does not perceive consistency in the minds of others, making him suspicious of their motivation. This is the real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson is the hardest to learn. Still strongly aware of the ego in yourself and responding primarily to the ego in others, you are being taught to react to both as if what you do believe is not true. Upside down as always, the ego perceives the first lesson as insane. In fact, this is its only alternative, since the other possibility, which would be much less acceptable to it, would obviously be that it is insane. The ego's judgment here, as always, is predetermined by what it is. The fundamental change will still occur with the change of mind in the thinker. Meanwhile, the increasing clarity of the Holy Spirit's voice makes it impossible for the learner not to listen. For a time, then, he is receiving conflicting messages and accepting both. The way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is clearly to choose one and relinquish the other. If you identify with your thought system, and you cannot escape this, and if you accept two thought systems which are in complete disagreement, peace of mind is impossible. If you teach both, which you will surely do as long as you accept both, you are teaching conflict and learning it. Yet you do want peace, or you would not have called upon the voice for peace to help you. Its lesson is not insane. The conflict is. There can be no conflict between sanity and insanity. Only one is true, and therefore only one is real. The ego tries to persuade you that it is up to you to decide which voice is true, but the Holy Spirit teaches you that truth was created by God, and your decision cannot change it. As you begin to realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your mind that you are trying to undo a decision that was irrevocably made for you. That is why I suggested before that you remind yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you. You are not asked to make insane decisions, although you can think you are. It must, however, be insane to believe that it is up to you to decide what God's creations are. The Holy Spirit perceives the conflict exactly as it is. Therefore, his second lesson is to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. This is still a preliminary step, since having and being are still not equated. It is, however, the more advanced than the first step, which is really only the beginning of the thought reversal. The second step is a positive affirmation of what you want. This then is a step in the direction out of conflict, since it means that alternatives have been considered and one has been chosen as more desirable. Nevertheless, the term more desirable still implies that the desirable has degrees. Therefore, although this step is essential for the ultimate decision, it is clearly not the final one. Lack of order of difficulty in miracles has not yet been accepted, because nothing is difficult that is wholly desired. To desire wholly is to create, and creating cannot be difficult if God himself created you as a creator. The second step then is still perceptual, although it is a giant step toward the unified perception that reflects God's knowing. As you take this step and hold this direction, you will be pushing toward the center of your thought system, where the fundamental change will occur. At the second step, progress is intermittent, but the second step is easier than the first because it follows. Realizing that it must follow is a demonstration of a growing awareness that the Holy Spirit will lead you on. So, our final lesson is be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. And you can tell from these first two lessons, that we're pushing and we're opening our heart, opening our mind, opening our awareness to the experience that voila, the truth is true, and what you have is what you are. You might have remembered the cartoon Popeye. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. And that is definitely the final lesson of the Holy Spirit. Basically seeing that having and being are the same. But in order to reach that, you have to be very vigilant for God and his kingdom. And you have to be able to focus your mind in such a way, like a laser beam, that you only accept in your mind what is actually true. And that's that workbook lesson that Jesus repeats many, many times and reviews many times. My mind holds only what I think for God. So the simplicity of lesson number 3 is what I have is what I am. And we first learned that having rests on giving and not on getting. And then next we learn that you teach what you learn what you teach, and what you want to learn is peace. And then as you begin to identify with the kingdom, you come to teach only what you want. So basically the third step of recognizing that what I have is what I am is what I have, is the ultimate protection for the mind. It's the ultimate protection, we'll say, for peace of mind. So I hope you enjoyed that. That is a step inward to joy, and that's what we're all about. We're only here to experience the joy of God's love. The Holy Spirit is the spirit of joy, and the Holy Spirit's curriculum is the curriculum of joy. And if you're not experiencing consistent joy, it just means that you believe something to the contrary of joy. And then forgiveness is a release or letting go of all beliefs, all thoughts, all feelings, everything that clutters the sleeping mind, and then allows it to return to the pristine experience of present joy. I love you. I send you my blessings. I pray that God's blessings shower upon you today and every day, and live in the moment of God's happiness and joy. Blessings.